Anybody working in the pharmaceutical industry today has got used to an apparently never-ending decline in the number of new products reaching the market. Recently, there have been signs of an upturn. For the past couple of years now, the FDA has been approving significantly more of them. If you look back over 40 years, it does appear to be a continuing story of long-term decline. If you examine the trend for this century, it looks rather different. Things are much more stable. In fact, there is a slight upward trend. And just looking at 2005 onwards, it looks even more positive. I don't think this is a fluke. The trend is likely to continue. To do so, I need to explain trends in numbers of projects in total and at each phase of drug development. Firstly, the total number of R&D projects has climbed ever upwards. You can see that in 2012, the total number of projects has more than doubled since 1993. And the trend is more positive than it was only a couple of years ago. This is a result of ever-increasing R&D expenditure. Let's look at long-term trends by development phase. Firstly, at the preclinical phase, the figures not far short of doubled over this period. Recently, they have fluctuated. At phase 1, the number of projects in 2012 was over 3 times the number in 1993. The recent increase has been steady, but there has been some acceleration in the upward trend since 2010. Though there has not been a problem in generating much larger numbers of phase 1 compounds, until very recently, that hasn't resulted in more new products reaching the market. At phase 2, the upward trend is not quite so strong, but there has been continuing good growth in the number of projects since 2008. With phase 3, there is good overall growth in the number of projects since 1993, but not to the same extent as in phase 1 and 2. In no year was growth dramatic until we come to 2011. In the next 2 years, the number of products jumped by a quarter. We may not see this continuing in the same way, but already the number of phase 3 projects is on a higher plane than just a couple of years ago. What is happening? In my view, the figures reflect that at last the continual stepping up by the industry of R&D effort and progress with enabling technologies is feeding through to improved figures at phase 3. Since we know that the recent trends for those previous phases remain positive, we should expect that this will result in due course in further increases in the number of phase 3 projects, though we should expect fluctuations. However, that for the moment is as far as the positive trends stretch, because at pre-registration phase we still see a downward trend in numbers. But this is diminishing, and it ought to benefit shortly from the recent upswing at phase 3. We do know that both the FDA and the EMA were, in late 2012, gearing up for an increasing number of new product submissions in 2013. But this assumes that all other things are equal, and this certainly hasn't been the case over the past quarter century. We need in particular to examine why the long-term increase in numbers of projects since 1993 didn't lead to an improvement in new products reaching the market, before we can consider projecting the future, and that I will consider in the next webcast. But if we leave this aside for the moment, what can we expect from the existing R&D pipeline? I am for the moment going to assume that the same attrition rates which applied in the past will apply in the future. Let's consider firstly projects at phase 3. On average, a project at this phase will reach the market in about 3 years. In 2009, there were 544 projects at phase 3 according to Pharma Project Sightline. By 2012, there were 27% more than this. By 2015, there would be approaching a quarter more products reaching the market than in 2012, or just over 40 products. My projection is more optimistic than the recent one from IMS, but not wildly so. Extrapolating the same way for the previous development phases, we come up with the other plots on this graph. As with all forecasts, the further they stretch, the more questionable they become. But as you can see, my projection is only continuing rather more strongly the upward trend we can see since 2004. What about the short term? I see the sheer weight of projects progressing through R&D overcoming, phase by phase, the lackluster trends in project numbers. The next one to succumb shortly will be the pre-registration phase. And since that phase is a short one, a positive impact on the number of new products reaching the market should follow shortly afterwards. This is a promising outlook, but more products mean more activity, and from the outset, more strategic thinking. When internal knowledge requires a boost, or where resources are constrained, Transcript is well equipped to help in advising on the widening strategic opportunities and in developing new products to market and beyond.